How's it going, you wonderful people? Welcome to the next video in our course. We've talked about audience and how we find our best audience. We've talked about our mentality and how we're getting that straight in our heads. Now let's start getting into some of the technical stuff, right? So we got to start creating our show now that we know who it's for and how we're going to do that in some ways. But now we got to talk about some of the technical stuff of how we do it. And one of the first things you got to decide if we're creating a show, right, is we got to pick a medium, right? And what I mean by medium is we got to pick a format. There's lots of different options. First thing I want to tell you is you can definitely do this, right? You can create your own show. You can have it leveraged to create your business, that kind of stuff. But we got to create, we got to figure out what we're going to do. Now, I'm going to talk about during this how we actually can use a lot of different platforms and different formats and how we leverage those to do a bunch of different things. I'm a big believer in if we can do one thing and get 5 products, I want to do that, right? So when I say format, I'm really talking about really 3 different things, right? We can have video, we can have audio, and we can have the written word. We can have words, right? Video, things like YouTube, Vimeo, those are recorded types of video. It can be live streaming. I'm going to cover in our one of our courses how we can actually leverage live streaming to do all of these different things. And there's actually a couple of different programs out there. XSplit, Restream actually allows us to leverage live video on several different platforms, meaning that you can live stream on Facebook, on your business page on Facebook, on YouTube, Twitch, all these different platforms at one time. And this is a fairly new product, but there are several of them out there now that you can do that. Audio example, the greatest audio is podcasting, right? That kind of thing. Audio can also be like radio. There are several people out there that have their own radio shows, podcasting shows, that kind of stuff. I've actually heard on several different occasions 2019 is the year of the podcast. We're going to go through these different ones, plus and minuses of all of it. Of course, a written word, email lists, blog lists, social media can be obviously written word, that kind of thing. You can leverage all of these things, but you need to have a core. If your core is to, and what I'm going to spend the most of the time in this course is on video, because I believe it can be leveraged the most, right? Obviously, based on your audience will have a face and what it consumes and how it consumes it. Your audience will have stats on what's the best way to reach out to them and when. One of the masters of this is if you've used YouTube for any length of time, you're probably going to know the name of Casey Neistat, right? He's the biggest, I think, still by number of consumers, the biggest vlogger, right? Video blogger, right? Almost daily vlogger, and he has been on there for a decade, right? And he consumes information, but none of this, it's not by accident. It's all on purpose, right? He knows who his audience is, and he's got his mentality right on what he's using to leverage his audience for and that kind of thing, right? We always used to say, I remember years ago, we used to talk about how video was coming, right? We use this on even SEO, search engine optimization on Google and stuff like that. We would say, well, video is coming. You got to learn how to do video. It's no longer coming, people. Video is the now, okay? Video marketers are seeing a 66% increase on qualified leads per year by using video. Right? I love stats. I'm a stat nerd. So for example, 54% of people that take on branding and using video in branding, 54% are seeing almost an immediate return on their investment, right? 81% are seeing an increase in sales almost immediately, right? According to, this is one of the things I'm going to read off, and I don't make a habit of that, but half the people under 50, according to Google, half the people under 50 would stop what they're doing to watch a new video by their favorite YouTuber, right? Or creator. Now, what does that mean? That means that if you are creating video content, if you're creating your show, right? We're all guilty of this. If you get a notification saying that your favorite creator, your favorite show, your real estate roundup show, whatever it is you're creating, your people that love and adore you and subscribe to your channels and your content, most of them, half of them, are going to stop what they're doing to see your new stuff. That's the secret sauce, folks. That's crazy. Okay? You're talking about, we live in a world now where Facebook, for example, has 8 billion views a day. 8 billion views a day. On YouTube right now, more than, I think it's something like, there's more than an hour of content uploaded to YouTube every minute. Right? Look, video is not the future, it's the now. It's just what you got to do. Okay, we talked about it coming, but it is the now. And by using, video, we can actually leverage it. When I say you got to choose your format and your basic format, I'm a big fan of choosing video and live video and recorded video as your format. It's because we can actually leverage those to make everything else, right? For example, if I record a live a broadcast today and I have it on Facebook and YouTube and everything else, that then is automatically, without me doing anything, it's recorded and uploaded to my Facebook page for people to consume at any time. But then I can actually take that audio out of the video and upload it as a podcast, and then I can actually have that podcast sent off to create blog posts and vlog posts and everything else out of it. So you can leverage video the most, but everything has its pluses and minuses, right? Advantages to video, right? When I said SEO earlier, Google owns YouTube. So if you have a video where you're talking about whatever, your next open house, or you're talking about realtor education or whatever, the fact is if you have a house about Cedar Park open houses, right? If someone types into Google and types in Cedar Park open houses, if there's videos available that match that criteria, it's going to show it on the first page, whether it's a website that has the information or not. Google owns YouTube. They want videos up. They know that people want to consume video in today's world. If there's a video about it, we're all guilty of it. If there's a video about it, I'm going to watch the video before I read the article. It's just the way it is. It's the fact that we like to consume information in that way, right? It's easy to walk people through a process, much easier, especially if mechanically inclined, right? It's much easier to walk somebody through a process on video. We can create graphics, we can create videos inside of videos, we can create how-tos. All of those kind of things are much easier to do from a video standpoint, what we can see, than it is what we can, hear or we read. That kind of thing. It makes it much more difficult. We have the ability, if we're doing videos, we have the ability to say, hey, go here, click a link down below, add a link down below, right? Where take them to a place, right? We can get them to consume information, and then we can get them to interact with that information and then move forward or move somewhere else. We can get them to subscribe. We can get their information. We can, right? Facebook has a subscription. It's called a like button, right? YouTube has a subscribe button. Every page, even my website, they all have a opt-in button or whatever. Video allows this easily. It makes sense. I can say, hey, click down below to get a list of whatever, and it's there. It's interactive, right? Now, disadvantages. One of the biggest disadvantages of video, and why I say you need to use it to leverage all the other formats, is you have to be in front of something to watch it, right? I have to be sitting in front of a computer, or I have to be sitting in front of my phone, right? More than half of the people are consuming videos through their tablet or their phone. Now, knowing that, you have to be in front of it for video, right? Now, that also the second biggest disadvantage of video is flat out attention spans, right? Our attention spans are getting smaller, not better, or smaller, not bigger. So attention span can be an issue when it comes to videos, depending on your content, the type of content, obviously your audience, right? Now, me teaching you a class, I get your attention for longer because it's information you want to know. But if I was just putting a video together to try and get someone's attention quickly and then get them to a website, I probably got to make that video pretty short, right? So there's advantages and disadvantages. Audio, okay? Podcasting can be a huge deal. One of the biggest advantages of podcasting is I can consume it anywhere. right? People listen to podcasts when they're sitting in traffic, right? I can listen to it at the airport. I can listen to it where on the flight itself. I can consume audio content almost anywhere. There's a reason that radio has been popular for 100 years, and it's still popular today, right? Morning shows in every market, afternoon shows. Radio has been around forever and probably will be around forever because people enjoy having that content in that way because it's easy for us to consume and do other things. We can listen to the radio while we're driving a car and still do both of those things effectively, right? We also, by hearing certain things, there's a reason that jingles still work, right? That commercials with certain jingles still work. I bet if I asked you, hey, what's your favorite old jingle? You probably have one. That kind of thing. There was actually a movie made in the 90s called Demolition Man with Wesley Snipes and Rocky Balboa, Sylvester Stallone, right? And in this movie, it's kind of the future or a version of the future, right? Sylvester Stallone gets frozen. He's a police officer. Wesley Snipes plays a bad guy. Anyway, point is, they have to battle each other in the future. And one of the funny things about the movie is that they've done away with all music. All music radio stations are actually old style 1980s and 90s jingles. So it's very funny. Point is the everybody can think of a jingle. Everybody gets a song stuck in their head, and the reason is because we're audio learners, right? We hear things and they can get stuck in there, and then all of a sudden you're awake at 2:00 in the morning because you can't get that new song out of your head, right? We can now the limitations obviously on audio are obvious, right? You can't, if someone's listening to the radio can't say, well, click the advertisement below. I'm sure we'll get there, technologically speaking, that we'll get there one day where we can just tap a button on that radio station. But currently we're not quite there, at least in that way that advertisers can reach out in that way, right? There can be no direct call to action, right? That kind of thing. Written word, emails, blog posts, that kind of thing. The written word has some of the same benefits as video. Obviously, if we're making a Facebook post, and we can put a link in it. We can send them to somewhere, that kind of thing. We talked about in the last video about newsletters, leveraging snail mail in that way because it makes people feel special. Thank you cards, that kind of stuff. All of those things are obviously easy to link, right? Send them to a place. We're going to talk about in a video, we're going to talk about lead capture and that kind of stuff, how important that is. But again, the biggest part of this, and I want to encourage you as much as I can, you can build your show around any of these. It can be 100% podcast, and you can leverage just audio to build your show. You can build your show and support it with the written word, emails and blog posts and things like this. But I want to really encourage you to leverage video in one way or the other, if it's at least recorded video. But again, we're talking about not only the now but the future. Get yourself to a point where you're comfortable with live video as well, just again because we can leverage live video in every format, right? We take the live video, make it a recorded video. The recorded video then becomes an audio format, right? Podcasting, that kind of stuff, which then can be used for blog posts and stuff like that. There's services out there that can actually take all of your then blog posts, your articles, your blogs and stuff, and use that to create a book, right? So video can then be leveraged for every format. It's a way to work smarter, not necessarily harder. Remember, this is the you show, meaning that you need to be comfortable with the format that you choose, right? I highly encourage you to go with video, especially live video. You can start out with a podcast and add video later. Again, remember, all of this stuff is about you and your audience, right? Your audience will tell you right? We talked about just sometimes we need to ask our audience. Your audience could actually make this decision for you, right? Who are you trying to get to, and how does that audience consume that information? Who is your client? How do we get in touch with them, and how do we get them to do what we want them to do, right? That's the big thing about format, right? Video, audio, or written. Get the video done. It's the best thing for you. It's the easiest way to leverage creating your show. And then that way you can leverage all the other formats, okay? Once you figure it out, again, your audience, you've got your mind right. We need to figure out how we're going to contact our people, right? What format, which is what this is about. Choose your format, get to the next video, and let's get to work, okay? See you on the next one.